Hey, and welcome back. So today's video, need versus want. There's a ton that could be said about that. I'm wanting to hone in on understanding conditioning and maybe more specifically deconditioning, healing, and then consciously creating. And I want to mention too, first I'll share a story about what inspired this video, but when I have an idea about something I'd like to say in a video, I'm very much practicing what I'm preaching, so to speak. I do write it on my dream board and then let it go, and then experience just happens. Something happens that's very inspiring, that's uber clarifying of it. Just so inspiring of it that sheds all the clarity on it, and then the video truly just does happen. So this is a little weird. It's always weird, but it's a little bit weird how it happened today. Today I went to the dentist and I had a crown put on a molar on this side, a cavity filling removed and replaced on the bottom on this side, and the last two mercury fillings on my teeth, on the top fillings, replaced. And as they started working, I felt a little aversion and just breathed and relaxed. I felt the breathing in the stomach as I preach. I relaxed all the muscles and just sank into the chair, or felt the sinking into gravity. Then there was some acute pain from the drill, and I couldn't tell if it was that it wasn't numbed all the way or what have you, but very specific acute pain. And I noticed some aversion and just relaxed again, breathed, felt the breathing, and then went, so to speak, directly to the pain, to as specifically as I could find or be where it was, or be that pain. And I just knew it and felt it as myself. And as soon as I did that, it just disappeared. I relaxed more deeply and continued feeling breathing from the stomach, just being present and allowing, wanting to feel and experience the richness of the moment, this miracle of life, or of being. At the dentist, getting work done on 4 teeth, still somewhat numb. And as soon as I did, I experienced what I've referred to in previous videos as infinite seeing. And I, at some point, will come up with a better, more descriptive term, but I'm still at a loss for it. It's very hard to articulate or communicate to anyone who isn't experiencing this, what it is and what it's like. But it's most often seeing someone's life, or aspects of their life, or events of their life, or even past lives in a first-person perspective, as if I'm them. And the seeing, or what's seen, happens basically right here in front of me, and it's visual and audible and deeply, profoundly emotional. If you've not experienced this, if you can imagine the thoughts and emotions that you're accustomed to not being yours anymore and being someone else's. I'm not sure how to describe it other than to say that it's highly enjoyable, and it's so clearly of unconditional love that it's such a joy and very, very moving. Difficult, if not impossible, to communicate. But today there were 2 women working on my teeth, but the seeing occurred on behalf of one of them. It was seeing events that have been happening in her life in recent months, with her daughter who's at college and is wrestling with a very difficult decision. And then the seeing, if you will, zoomed in and was then centered around a particular conversation that the recent months and previous conversations had kind of unfolded to or culminated into. But the profound thing about this particular seeing wasn't really the content. Sometimes it is. Sometimes in past lives, the content of what's seen is profound, because it's so different from the norm or what I'm used to seeing. But what was profound about this today was with respect to being her, or to what it was like being her or experiencing as her. And if this sounds too out of reach or just absolutely crazy, that's perfectly fine. I guess I can only make a plea that you just do what you can to be open-minded, and maybe listen to the rest of the video and hear me out on trying to explain how you can go about experiencing this. This woman's communion was very, very strong, like impenetrable, crazy, awesome, strong. And as she was listening to her daughter and helping her, she was so aware of our infinite being arising. Her ebb and flow of sometimes listening and sometimes talking, of sometimes relating and sometimes questioning, of sometimes allowing the being mom and sometimes just allowing all the space in the world for her daughter, and of sometimes being supportive and sometimes pushing back. It was just astounding, and her awareness of this, her real-time knowing of this, so to speak, was masterful. It was breathtaking. It was so utterly beautiful that tears were just streaming down the side of my face to my ears as I'm laying on the dentist recliner chair. And after a minute or two, they stopped and asked if I was okay, if I was in pain, and I was laughing with whatever those T-shaped things they stick in your mouth are, and said no, that I was totally fine, and that it'd be hard to explain even without half of my face being numb. Which got me thinking, so to speak, how do I communicate this seeing such that someone else could? This seeing, which is such a joy, such an incredibly different depth of experiencing life, of myself or ourself, such a different way of being compared to or relative to before it started. How could I help anyone with how to access this or dip into this, or essentially how to be prior to the facade of a thinker thinking, of the analytical, conceptual, rational, intuition, emotions, etc. How can I communicate to someone how to go about doing what I'm experiencing, yet not actually doing? How do you communicate that? How do I communicate to someone how to experience this infinite seeing, and it's realer than real, and it's breathtaking beauty, when it's not really actually technically an experience? I remain open-minded about it. I really do not know what's to come, but for now, it seems that the answer is that I can't, that it's not possible in any direct explanatory steps what to do sense. But in the indirect sense, is it possible? It seems like it is. In the indirect sense, I mean that it's not a doing and it can't be done, but it can be uncovered and experienced, even though, again, it's not really an experience. Not at all like thought and perception and sensation are experienced. It's so to speak, very much getting down to the love, the intelligence that we are, or that which is being all things. So all I can really do is share what I experience, so to speak, and offer suggestions as to the uncovering, which led to thinking about conditioning, or maybe more specifically, deconditioning. And the profound difference therein between the framings or perspectives of need and want, and how this relates to desire and change, which led to putting this together, or this coming together and making this video. So here's what came to mind as a way to try to convey this on all fronts. Picture me talking to my 7-year-old son and saying, you need to change. You need to take things way more seriously. You need to get yourself and your life together. Do you see how there's kind of an unnecessary harshness there? And it's a bit of a likelihood or an assumption on my part, but do you notice some kind of thought arises like, well, yeah, for a 7-year-old, that would be pretty harsh. I'd be with you on the unnecessarily harsh, but not quite with you on the for a 7-year-old aspect. You could imagine how terrible he'd feel. He'd feel very overwhelmed, to say the least, as if he wasn't already. The last thing he'd feel up to doing would be changing the very things that he wants to change. My approach in this example would result in discord and suffering, and him feeling disconnected from source, and him not feeling like the creator that he is. Need is a very, very strong word. When I think of how much internalizing would likely be going on for a 7-year-old, it breaks my heart. He'd probably think he's not good enough as he is, that he's not able, that he's not capable, that he's lacking something compared to others, that I think he doesn't care about his life, or maybe arguably worse, that I've got some kind of ability or gift or knowledge or talent or whatever that he just doesn't have or didn't get. Who really knows what he would think, but the greater point is he'd likely be thinking something about himself in an effort to make sense of his feeling of the discord or the suffering. He'd likely be thinking there's something wrong with him one way or another. He'd likely be internalizing. Then I imagine, what if a few years ago I ran up to the corner store and never came back? So essentially, what if he did not have me at all? There's a pretty strong chance he'd be internalizing that and thinking he's not good enough as he is, he's lacking something, that I left because of him, or maybe that I didn't love him, or maybe that whatever was off or discordant with me is genetic or a personality trait, and is what's wrong with him too. Again, in his potentially, but very likely internalizing to try to make some sense of the discord or suffering that he's feeling. The point is, he'd likely be internalizing the decisions that I made from my place of disconnection with Source, from my absence of communion. He'd likely be internalizing this as about himself and who he is. In his innocence, he'd quite easily mislead himself into confusion without realizing the thoughts feel terrible precisely because they aren't true. He'd be feeling the awesomeness that he actually is and how discordant and off those thoughts are about him, but he'd pretty easily not recognize that's what's being experienced. or maybe more specifically, that's what being is experiencing. Do you see how neither of these mindsets resonate? Neither are oriented to the very change that he actually wants. I wonder what you would tell my 7-year-old son in my corner store disappearance or absence. It might be something along the lines of, yeah, life's challenging sometimes, but there isn't anything wrong with him, and that his dad had his own issues and just didn't understand that a Escort felt was because who, or rather what, he really is, and that it's not his fault what Dad did. At all. Not in any way whatsoever. He'd likely have no idea just how pure, innocent, and good and capable he actually is. As he got older, there'd be a good chance that he'd went to some things to cope. Maybe acquired some habits, some addictions, some defensive mechanisms, maybe deflection, projection, etc. Then as he gets older, he'd start to realize the effects of these coping things and substances and ways of being and reactions and behaviors, and the suppressive effect this is having on his mental well-being and his overall health long term. He'd be experiencing, so to speak, infinite intelligence and unconditional love, also known as the body, and the communion therein, but he'd have no idea that he is, from conceptualizing the infinite intelligence and unconditional love that he actually is, like those around him did or do, like the collective seems to tend to do. I don't mean to be cynical, but it sure seems that people all too readily and often and all too ambitiously confirm that indeed there is something wrong with you, that there is something that you need to do, that you do have a problem, and of course, I'll sell you the solution. People who don't realize what they really are, who aren't aware of their own communion, their own alignment and discord. People who aren't aware who, or much more so rather, what they're actually talking to. Because they are deflecting and projecting and not inspecting the discord of their thoughts or beliefs. We're all absolutely innocent. If you think at all that I'm saying there are good and bad people, I'm not. If you think that I'm saying I'm better than anyone, I'm certainly not. If you think that I'm saying it's wrong to charge people money to offer solutions or help or assistance, I'm not. What I'm talking about is you manifesting the change in your life that you desire. I'm talking about understanding, conditioning, deconditioning, healing, and consciously creating. I'm talking about you experiencing what you want to before this ride is over, and how the changes you want relate to the alignment and discord of thoughts, specifically along the lines of need versus want. You very much wanted life. So to speak, prior to being this life, you did not need anything, not one thing, nothing. There were no problems, no issues, nothing wrong, and nothing wrong with you. There were no beliefs. You're a creator and you just wanted to create, and so you did, and here we are. You may or may not have realized this. You might or might not know this. You might or might not presently be able to see this. but that is what I'm pointing to. Every time you focus on what you don't want and believe you need to change it, what happens? Well, what doesn't happen is the change that you believe that you need. Change does not work that way. It's like believing you need to water the lawn and setting up sprinkler after sprinkler, day after day, wrenching and wrenching the fittings, tightening the hoses to the sprinklers again and again, experiencing the frustration, impatience, overwhelmment, discouragement, and doubt in doing so every day without ever having went to the faucet and turned the water on. Life is way easier. Change happens, and experience is way more enjoyable when you do. Change happens when you focus on what you do want and when you allow that to be. If you're not feeling, excuse me, the way that you want to be feeling, there's one thing I know about your experience, undoubtedly, for sure. You will not be at a loss to write out a list of what you know you don't want. I'm suggesting that you first do that. Just write a list on a piece of paper of whatever comes to mind that you desire to quit, believe you need to change, anything and everything that comes to mind that you know you definitely do not want. Then step away for a bit, do something ideally fun, enjoyable will do. Something you like will do, something you love would be best. If you're at a loss for what that is, just go for a walk and tune into perception and feeling. Hear the birds, or in this case, the rain. See the colors, the textures, the depths. Look around. Feel the air on your skin. Feel the sensation of every step. Feel the heel, the arch, the toes. Feel the shoes. Feel the gravity. Feel the inertia, the momentum. Breathe consciously. Feel the breath coming in, going down, coming up, going out. Feel every breath. Then later, return to your list of everything you know you don't want. And here it comes. I'm just pausing for any deflection or projection. It's perfectly natural. It happens. It's okay. But Crazy Guy's going to talk about the dream board again. Look at your list of everything that you know that you don't want or want to quit or believe that you need to change and write the opposite on your dream board. Just write what you do want. If you want to quit a substance, for example, write on your dream board the words well-being. If you want to feel better than you've been feeling, write alignment, or maybe even aligning thought with feeling. If you want a relationship, and maybe on your paper list you wrote, I don't want to be alone anymore, then write on your dream board what comes to mind that you do want. A friend or friends, and literally I'm saying write these phrases. Whatever resonates best with you. A friend, friends, a partner, a significant other, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a lover, a wife, a husband, whatever terminology feels best to you, just write that and let it be that simple. If you wrote on your paper list of what you don't want, that you don't want to be bored or restless or afraid or to feel powerless or to feel unworthy, consider writing on your dream board the phrase a hobby or a new interest or an opportunity or simply to create something new or even transmutation or perhaps metamorphosis or just excitement or literally just write the word change. or maybe just something new or something unexpected. Once you've written what you do want on your dream board, and this is really, really key, let it be done. If it feels good to focus on it, focus on it. But my suggestion is after you've written it, you're done. Let it be done. Allow it to be done. Allow it to be. You've told the universe what you do want. The universe is infinitely intelligent. You have been heard. You are understood. The universe knew what you want even before you did. Way back when you were still focusing on quitting and or believing that you need X, Y, or Z. It is our experience of what we don't prefer, what we don't want, that allows the creating, that is creation, that is the creator with respect to what will be, to change. The key really is at that point to just let it go. Just go right back to now, so to speak. Hear the birds again, breathe consciously again, feel sensation again. Now what you wrote is coming, is manifesting, is already appearing. Be excited, be aware, watch for it, receive it. Why is this interesting? Why is this exciting? Why does this invoke curiosity? And by this, I don't mean this video, I don't mean what I'm saying. I mean the direct experience of you making a dream board, of you writing that paper list, of you writing what you do want on the board. It's most fundamentally and most essentially, and maybe you do, but even still, it's because you don't know the how. You don't know how it's going to come. If you do, let that go. You don't. Our infinite being and every angel therein and every physical and immutable and universal law therein has got the how. You're not really a hower or a doer or a thinker. But I digress. It's been chatted about in other videos. Am I saying to throw all rational and practical thoughts out the window and just start eating cheesy poofs and drinking beer on your couch? No, that's not what I'm saying. If you want and wrote friends or a relationship on your board, and after you wrote it and truly let it go and are allowing the universe to be it, to do its thing, you're feeling pretty good, feeling some relief from addressing this, from having taken a look, shining the light of awareness on it, allowed this to be illuminated, from emptying or getting it out, from expressing. If you've done this, you are feeling better from having written that list of what you don't want, from expressing it. And you're feeling even better from having written what you do want on your dream board, since what you do want, you want because it feels good to you. You see the simplicity at play here, the complexity of need, and believing and ruminating about how you feel better because what you write on the board is what you want, which feels good to you because it's what you want to create an experience. It's literally what you want. I mean, we're all a little stubborn, but we're talking about what you want. If you see a commercial, or maybe simply the thought arises to give something like meetup.com a try to get together with like-minded people, or maybe a dating app shows up or comes to mind, as it is aligned with what you want, give that a try. The suggestion of allowing or receiving is not a suggestion to be a mindless zombie with an oversized center of gravity and orange hands. It's to let the old go. The rumination, the discord, the beating up on yourself, the suffering, the believing you are separate from this universe, and all of the magical things, relationships, and experiences it has to offer. It's to allow the change that you want, such that you aren't continuing to experience fear, discouragement, frustration, overwhelmment, tension, stress, and any of the potential effects this might or might not have on health. It's to feel alignment, to see the universe, to see yourself, to see and feel the truth. To recognize and realize the greater picture, the why you created this place in the first place. To see all of the why of why you wanted it. As infinite intelligence, because, so to speak, you knew you'd feel the discord and alignment. You knew sooner or later you'd start listening to that compass within you guiding you home. The very same guidance or compass within you, so to speak, that guides you to that which you desire, to the manifesting, the actualizing, the receiving of it. Because as infinite intelligence, I want to say is, and is more accurate, but there was no doubt whatsoever, not a notion of doubt whatsoever, that you could be it for you. And so here you are now, creator, creating creation, being the present, the gift of life and of focus. Are you focusing on what you don't want or on what you do want? Are you noticing there's no effort involved in this focusing? Do you realize, have you lived enough life yet that you see that you are a creator creating either way? But are you focusing on what you do want and allowing thought to align with feeling, which with self, with that which is being all things, with the substance, so to speak, of experience, which that which bees it? Are you waking up every day to a board filled with what you want, what you like, what you love, what feels good to you? If not, try that. Are you living your days in curiosity and excitement, in the eagerness and enthusiasm of knowing it's coming, in the awareness of seeing for it, hearing for it, listening for it, feeling for it? Are you experiencing the real-time, otherworldly thrill of the guidance and the conscious creating? If you're not, try it. Are you recognizing when it shows up? Are you conceptualizing it away? Are you labeling it away, thinking it away, justifying it away, rationalizing it away? Or are you recognizing when it shows up? Are you fixated on knowing how, such that you're missing it? Are you keeping conditioning going for the next generation? Or are you allowing honest expression? Are you waiting for something? Are you waiting for someone? This ain't a rehearsal. This is it. Are you allowing the transmutation of your pains into the beauty, the creating, the amazing experiences you desire to experience? It all comes from you. Paradox is a funny thing. If you're aware of this, you're probably not listening to this video. And if you're yet aware of this, that it all comes from you, you're probably experiencing triggering or reaction. Please watch the last video, maybe two, at least the last one, if that's the case. You're probably thinking in terms of whether or not what this guy is saying is true, whether or not you agree with what this guy believes. Try to notice what's being said here is just be open-minded and explore this and try this, and let your own direct experience be the proof, the evidence, what validates. It really just literally has nothing to do with this guy. It all comes from you. But here's the weird thing. You can't per se do it. You can't carry on ruminating discordantly about it. Express what's on your mind, what comes to mind, the thoughts that don't feel good. Write them, say them, sing them, carve something, paint something. But express, transmute, allow that. Transmutation is not a personal thing. It's experienced that way initially, but it's like unwrapping yourself as a present. And as there's less wrapping paper and more of yourself, what you're seeing is that you're certainly not in the body. You're not finite. You're not anything you think you are. And transmutation's just, it's the nature of the whole, of the spheres of experience, of life, of creation, of every possible thing that you could inspect and look for transmutation in. You will find it. It's there. It's all apparent change. Allow yourself to let a discordant thought go just as swiftly as you would remove your hand from accidentally placing it on a hot stove. Allow to come to mind what you want equally as swiftly. Allow the creating of a big dry erase board in your place, in your space, in your home, in your room, right in front of you, with everything that you want, everything that feels great to you. See what happens.